I'm Stephen Rothwell. I'm the head of AI at Sportstensor, which is a subnet on the BitTensor network. I'm here with Jian, my CEO, and we're going to tell you a little bit about what we do. So what we do is we build consistent, verifiable, on-chain signal for sports prediction markets. So you can kind of think of BitTensor as sort of a continuous tournament where miners, they compete to generate a signal. And then the validators, they score that signal based upon the ability for that score to beat the sports betting market. And if those miners, they generate a good score, they get paid based upon that ability. So our job at Sportstensor is to take that signal of many hundreds of miners, many hundreds of AI specialists, and deploy that liquidity on-chain, like on a poly market, you might have heard of those guys, or Kalshi, or anything like that. So we deploy that on-chain, and that's the flywheel. That's the flywheel. It's fast, it's auditable, and it scales. It scales with the amount of liquidity we can get. So over the last year since we started up, we've generated a consistent 2 to 4% ROI per dollar spent. So every dollar we put on, we get 2 cents in return, up to 4 cents in return. It depends on the sport because they're a little bit different and harder to beat in some cases and easier in others. Okay, so that's why we're here, and we want to explain how that works with you guys and tell you a little bit about that. So let's go. Next slide. I'll just press space instead. I don't know what that is. So, I've got an animation. I didn't know that was going to happen. Does it stop? No, it does. Okay. So, Sportstensor, we like to think of ourselves as decentralized ground truth for sports. And, a little bit about myself. Of course, the most unflattering picture from my COVID hippie days. Please forgive me, it's terrible. A little bit about myself, Stephen Rothwell again. I worked at D-Wave Quantum Computers in Vancouver. For many years, I was a physicist. I worked at Amazon as a machine learning scientist for a little while as an AI lead. Ending up at Fans Unite in 2018 as a founding employee, which was a sports betting company that worked on Ethereum. We were trying to build a PM on Ethereum back when nothing worked, and it didn't work. But we ended up pivoting and IPO'd in 2020. And now I'm at Sportstensor at 2024, and we're building what I just said. So in between there, I also worked at a lot of large sports betting desks in Costa Rica. And a lot of these guys in the gray market in the USA, before PAPSA was passed, we couldn't bet or anything like that. So you would have these gray markets where many millions and millions of dollars were passed in between individual family desks who employed quants like myself. And so that's how you keep the information away from the sportsbook and with the professionals. And then when we're all done betting, we push it into the market. So that's kind of how the sausage is made. And I kind of learned a lot about that at that experience. So you might think of a sports market maker like this guy. He's rich. He's powerful, he might smoke a cigar, he drives a Bugatti, and he might be on ESPN talking to Stephen A. Smith about basketball or something, but in general, this is the romantic version you see pushed to you by Hollywood. This is nothing like how it is. This is what it is. That's what it is. This is actually a real photo from the largest sports bettor in America right now, Gudun Kriol is his name. He's out of New Jersey. So, these are the guys that actually price the sports betting markets right here in these little cubicles. It's more akin to Wall Street trading, where people spend 18 hours a day, literally, sitting at the desk in these little glass wall cubicles trying to manufacture an advantage. These are all machine learning scientists, and what they do is they calibrate models, right? They're trying to find statistical advantage in mountains of data, and they do that. And when their opinions beat the market, they get paid very well by the money movers. So you can probably tell it's not as glamorous as the other guy. I wish it was. But these are the people who are critical to a $70 billion industry, and they set everything. They set the prices. So, I think next slide. Yeah, not so fun. Almost next slide. So, prediction markets really do rely on these people to set the line almost exclusively. and they calculate the ground truth. But the problem is that the edge that they create is spurious. It ends up decaying like really, really fast. And so, pardon me, yeah, what happens is for a while these guys, they generate an edge and they're adversely selecting others and making a ton of money, right, because they have information. But just like that, it turns against you and suddenly you are being adversely selected and you are losing tons of money when you lose your statistical advantage. And so that's kind of the case, and let's see here. Yeah, I guess the reason why is that edges decay. And, models drift, right? Edges decay over time. And it could be because, like, regimes change, like the sport fundamentally changes, a new coach comes into a team, the data that you're using becomes stale and can no longer deploy it into the market. And so all the time when you're deploying models, they just have a theta decay, I guess you could say. They have a time decay that just is pretty quick. And so it's very, very hard to maintain your signal over time. And this is the fundamental problem of prediction markets. It's not that models are important, it's consistent models that can be consistently deployed over time because you have a diverse team. So Gadoon has all these guys, he actually has like 20 of them, and they're all doing different things with all these monitors, and they're finding edges. And of course they can keep a continuous edge because they just have so many people on it. But if I'm deploying a model, I do something nice, probably within a month, I get busted out. So getting your edge blown out is a huge, huge problem. And if you think of it from the perspective of the prediction market, that's what they hate, is when your models are getting blown out. Why? Because it's not consistent. So you do a deal with a market maker, you do a contract, you're not too sure if that market maker can maintain their edge. And then in a month they're like, oh, we're out of here, we don't have any money anymore, we can't afford it because, well, we're not winning anymore. Huge problem for prediction markets, and it's called the liquidity problem. And that is always why exchanges die. I think the only one that ever made it was Betfair, European Innovation. Nothing else is compared to this day. So that's kind of the fundamental problem. So the question is, why do they blow up? So if anybody says the magic words, 50 euros right now, pounds, 50 euros. Can anyone tell me? I said the words. I'll give you 50 euros right now if you say the words.
Liquidity crunch?
No.
Edge?
No. Almost.
Asymmetric information?
Who said that? 50 euros.
I was holding back my question. I was going to ask you. Warren Buffett says, how do you find a $100 bill on the ground? It's like, look for it.
That's directly what adverse selection is. Okay? And that's skewed information advantage. The people not in the chairs anymore didn't value sports betting, and they left. You guys valued sports betting, and you wanted to learn more about it. You had a chance to win money, and you were just faster than everyone else. And so you won the money. Adverse selection, that's exactly how sports betting works. Exactly. So, why do they blow up? Adverse selection, and these markets are efficient, and so these guys, you have to calibrate your inference output. You have a machine learning model, you have to continuously calibrate it, and these individual models that are built are brittle, and the brittle models, they fall apart quickly when that information is factored into the price. When that happens, there are many factors why that happens, and I just kind of want to walk you through a few of them. People try to manufacture this adverse selection by many, many different ways. So one example is like computer vision, which actually our next presenter is part of the tensor community as well, and very, very important innovation. But you can see that this information is widely available in the market. So this is Genius IQ, which is actually a European firm. It seems like Europe really has a monopoly on sports betting data, so it's pretty cool. But you can see now that they can take game data and fit 3D meshes to player in real time on GPUs, just like super fast. Every second of every game, just like instantaneously given to you. You can get the release angle, the shoulder orientation of the basketball player, the shot probability, the gather time to the shot, everything you can ever want to know is gathered in like computer vision data and made available for $10,000 a month to guys like me. So for the average machine learning scientist, probably not available because it's expensive. But to a desk, you know, they're betting $1 million a game, probably. It's nothing to acquire the data. And companies like StatsBomb out of the UK are pretty popular for football and stuff. And on BitTensor, we have a computer vision subnet. It's available everywhere, and you can get the data. But there's actually a lot more things that go on, like injury information. So like players get their leg busted up and they don't tell the coach. But you might see it on the TV, he's limping a bit. So the next game you might factor that in because nobody's really looking at it. So injury information, you might try better modeling, like building a Monte Carlo with play-by-play data instead of doing aggregate statistical data on games, so you're really getting into play-by-play. You do a Monte Carlo, you have better error bars, and those error bars inform you of the ball, and therefore you can bet into the market when you see the price drift. Can you wait till we're done? And then I'll give you swag for your question when we're done. We have some swag for question people. Yeah, so you know that's what's going on. There's a whole bag of tricks which you try to optimize over. And they're extensive, and you can be assured every single one of them is being tried in real time by somebody. And it's just people who are fast with the gun, and they get to the edge before anyone else. Those are the people that benefit. Eventually, all edges are busted out. So, let me give you an example. When I worked at a major desk, I just noticed that, you know, what we would do is I would give information to a mover, and then a mover would go and bet serious amounts of money into the market. And you would phone other movers first so that you don't inform the line. You don't inform the bookmaker of the price. So very smart to do, but what we would notice is the desks that we would bet into, suddenly one of those desks would change their pattern, and they'd start betting teams that make no sense. And then, okay, you know, we'll take that bet, and then we get crushed. And it's usually the contrarian who is always right, and not the consensus that is right. Very important to understand that. That's the signal. When the contrarian arises in sports betting, and they're doing something strange, like we used to bet into a guy who bet the Tampa Bay Rays all the time, and he would just cream us, and be like, what's going on here? We learn to pay attention to that. And what that informs you is that it's the signal that matters, and it's not the consensus of smart people that matter. The consensus of the machine learning aficionado in any competition, including numerai, worthless. It's the people who come up with new signal that you didn't expect, and that's where all the alpha is. And so I highly believe that, and I felt that by losing tons of money and getting into trouble about that. So, and there's something in there for the machine learning scientists here. You might understand that this idea is not new. In 1990, Robert Shapiro came up with the weak learner theorem, and if you know that, the weak learner theorem states that any individual model, even if it's better than a coin flip, can be boosted up and made into a strong model as long as there's other models that are better than just random. So that's called boosting. We all do that. I think you guys at Vienna know that very well. And that's what we do at Sportstensor. We turn weak models, brittle models, into a strong market maker by enforcing a competition where people, through a Darwinian advantage, are constantly fighting to get better and better and better, and to get first to that edge. And so we're really optimizing the right tail, and we don't care about the mean. The right tail of model makers is what we want, and we incentivize that. So, I guess you can say that Sportstensor is the first continuous score tournament that singles out and pays originators. Pardon me. So, and weak learners, that's a good way of understanding it. You have Mr. Robot and all these different things, and then you kind of combine them together into something much more intelligent than a brittle model alone. So I'm pretty sure you guys do that a lot at numerai with ensembles. So very popular. Here's how BitTensor works. So this diagram kind of explains it. So about 7,200 tau a day is emitted into the subnets. That's a $3 to $6 million, depending on price. A little lower right now because of Bitcoin, unfortunately. But we have a subnet allocation that is given to us from that, and then 18% of that allocation is given to ops so that we can afford to get more data, grow things, get more people on. That's the operation expense. 41% given to the miners. The miners are the ones fighting for the reward. 41% to the validators to make sure that it's on-chain, it's real-time, and it is mutable data written to the blockchain so it cannot be gamed. There's no central authority here at all, and therefore you can trust it. It's a proper economic principal agent contract. This is what it is. Once you have the data, you can go ahead and score it, and we have an asymmetric scoring system here, done by these cool colors because we couldn't figure out any other way. So the high score gets the exponential return. Very important, exponential return, not linear, not Pareto, exponential, because we want to drive people into the right tail. That's what it's all about. Low score will give you a little benefit, I guess, but not too much. So that's pretty much it. I guess I wanted to compare it to Numerai. I guess why it's different than Numerai is that BitTensor is just a faster settling on-chain prediction market signal, but it has public receipts. And they're done in real time and they're pushed on-chain all the time and many, many times a day. So instead of waiting for a P&L signal from the parent, which they have to do because they obfuscate the data, for us it's more, it's a little bit of a different problem where you want to see the data all the time being pushed into the ledger because some problems require that. And some don't. And so it's just a different way of building the same kind of mechanism. It's a different type of incentive that's a little bit more free-flowing, but it's necessarily open in its nature. So that's BitTensor in a nutshell. So a little bit about our products at Sportstensor. So we have two products. This is how we monetize it. The first is Almanac, and Almanac is a B2C platform where if you have alpha token, which is our custom token, that's how BitTensor works. Each subnet has an alpha token worth a certain value, and it's valued based upon how much money you are floating into the alpha token, and it creates a sort of meritorious cycle where miners can make more money. If you're doing good things, more comes in, and it's like kind of a nice flywheel cycle. So the B2C, you can sign in, you get a premium contract, you can look at all the signal. If you like a guy or two, you can buy them up, and then you can deploy your alpha into the staking. I think it's going to be staking now because we just partnered with a big partner, which we'll show you in a minute. And you can go ahead and try to bet the signal and make some money on top of just holding. So you can do that. The other product we have is, we created an internal AI, so that's my job. We happen to be far into the right tail just because I've been building it for like 20 years. So we have an internal maker desk where we can look at our dashboard and we can see all the miners, and our job is to deploy our capital into that market and be a liquidity partner to major firms. That liquidity partner then pays the fee. We take the fee, we put it back into the alpha token. Nice little flywheel there. So those are the two products. But you might ask, what does it mean aside from fees and money? Like what's actually going on statistically behind the scene? So, maybe it's good to prove that you actually make money first. I'll do that first. Sorry, John. I think the slides mixed there, but this is our profitability since we started basically tracking things on chain with our internal desk. You can just scan the QR code, everything's on chain. You can see everything that we've done. You can't hide, and that's kind of the value of the subnet. So we've generated about $120,000 in revenue, $23,300 in MBA, which is our best market. Of course, our bets are very small because we're just testing out the miners and how they're doing and how they inform our strategy. NBA was ridiculous. We made a 427% return on the dollar staked, which is a 13.81% ROI over time. The average miners, because we had two really good guys in the NBA, was about 3 to 6% per dollar put in. Put a dollar in, you get 3 to 6 cents out. It depends. It fluctuates depending on if the team sucks or not, and they blow you out. It sucks. Happens, but Interesting, the average odds taken is about 2.25, so we're heavily skewed to the underdog. Well, I wouldn't say heavily, but we're skewed to the underdog. That's an important thing because most people who are just common bettors, they value the favorite team all the time. Of course, it's always going to be the Lakers that win. No. They end up losing more than you think. And if you're clever enough, you can take advantage of that and adversely select. That's what it's all about. So MLB, a little bit harder because MLB is much more statistics, much more data, much more clever, difficult to beat people factoring things quickly to the line. So we're up about 27 units this year, which is 27, well, I guess it's directly 27.69%. Much worse because this year they changed the balls and the entire industry got destroyed because they changed the ball. So like 3 years ago they juiced the ball so that you get more home runs so the TV ratings would go up. TV ratings did not go up, so they changed the ball back, made all the data worthless for the last 3 years, and the entire industry is reeling in pain, and it's been a painful year, let's just say that. But still, even with that regime change that happened that I discussed before, still profitable, miners are still profitable. Now you can see here on the red line, that's the average market. So that's the closing line from Pinnacle. The closing line is the point of the lowest information entropy. That is the point where it takes the most money to move the line. Like you got to put in millions at that point to move the line. Early on, you can put little bits of money, lines will change crazy, right? So at the time of the close, which is the hardest to beat because the most information has been factored in, this is the profit of just betting the favorite, basically. Betting the team that the consensus of the market, sorry, I'm in your way there. The consensus of the market thinks just loses over time. Impossible to win because all information is factored in. But when you build a corpus of adverse selectors, that's our profit over time, the Sportstensor advantage. So we've proven that you can actually do this and incentivize smart people to get on and provide that alpha, that information that you need, and it worked. So next, this is a little bit more of a, more of a math discussion here, but I wanted to try to explain in a simple way what's going on underneath the hood. So you can imagine this orange distribution here as the odds distribution of the bookmaker at the close, very important, at the close. And the way that you would kind of measure this is, people are weighting bets. They'll put in 100, 1,000, so maybe some people 10,000, they're very rich. But that all informs you of what an inferred probability is. Because probability is just 1 over the price. It's the inverse of the price. So you can actually, by the weight of the bets and the times that they were made and the price they were made at, build an inferred distribution. And then the mean of the distribution is exactly what the market thinks that team is. So in this case, it's 51.8%. Just shows a number, but they think that that's what's going to be the probability of that team. Say the Yankees winning today. When we build our ensemble, which is a sophisticated miner ensemble, done and forged by the incentive mechanism on BitTensor, this distribution is different than this distribution. And the edge is just the difference of the means. That's all it is, right? Simple as that. So we measure that as the edge, and we're trying to drive people into the right tail. We ruthlessly deregister losing bettors. We do not want them. Well, we want them, we like them. Come over, have a beer, but we don't want you betting. We're not going to give you alpha token unless you win. So, this edge here, when they win, it's a positive edge, and when they lose, it's a negative edge. So we sum up the edge over time, and if it's negative, deregister. If it's positive, we'll keep you on. If it's very positive, we will pay you money. I shouldn't say gigantic sums of money. I shouldn't say that, right? No. Let's just say money.
It depends how good.
Okay, well, gigantic sums of money. Okay.
If you're really good, then yes.
Yes. Okay, that's my CEO, so I have to pay attention. We've recently partnered officially as the official decentralized liquidity provider for Polymarket, who basically saw what we were doing, saw our incentive mechanism, saw that we incentivized people based upon that exponential sort of waiting, and they liked what they saw, so they got in contact with us and said, let's go. We need you to build an incentive layer for us, and we officially partnered with them last week publicly, and they tweeted us out. And so we're happy to generate this alpha for BitTensor and try to work with their new token that they're launching and create a massive reward flywheel for people who want to stake and basically put collateral down. Now I know that's very familiar in numerai, like collateral is a big thing, you gotta put skin in the game. But if you do that, we have maker access to Polymarket, the biggest prediction market in the world by 6 times. And they're decentralized as well. They're decentralized and they're crypto native. The only PM that's crypto native. So you might have seen them before if you bet Trump or something like that, sorry. But if you bet him, you know, they were doing something like $100, $200 million in volume on a political market. And that's what they want to do for sports. They want more liquidity. So that's who we're partnered with and who we're going to try to empower with the incentive mechanism that we built. Almost done. The prediction market flywheel then is very simple, and this just visualizes it. Subnet 41, the miners with Polymarket now as our partner will have to submit a stake. So you buy the alpha token, you stake it. You go ahead and you mine, you provide us with a signal, you win. We'll put your stuff in the UI and Almanac. We'll deploy on Polymarket in your name. Validators will score and submit your on-chain proof so that there's no running away. You have to do it the right way, real time, and immutable so that it's honest. And then it gets put into Polymarket, which itself is immutable. So it's like all forensic accounting. It's ledger-based. And fees will come through volume buybacks through Polymarket and our own betting as well. So we deploy your signal on-chain, and those rewards can be pretty significant. We will be updating probably in the next quarter what that's going to be finally looking like, as it's of course changed when we did the deal with Polymarket. So that's it. That's the prediction market flywheel and how we look at incentives to empower sports betting. Again, last slide. We are seeking 3 things. Sophisticated capital partners. So if you're very rich and you want to make money, please get in contact with us. We will not say no to that. But we want sophisticated partners who understand capital markets, who have experience in capital markets and understand risk, reward, and incentives. If you know anyone, please call 24/7. Well, maybe not 24/7, but close enough. You can get in contact with me anytime, or Jian, or anyone at Sportstensor. 2, critically, if you are a machine learning scientist, you have statistical talent, we want to get in touch with you. We want you to build models for us. We'll pay you very well if you're good at what you do. We will give you any data you want. We will partner with people who we're in contact with to get you the data that you need. We'll give you anything and everything. All we want to know is if you can be pushed into that right tail. If you can do that, we're happy to provide. So let us know, machine learning scientists who like sports. The third thing, of course, we're looking for is data partners. So data is always important. Data rights is a thing in sports, and some people get access, some don't. But if you have custom data, interesting data, friends who know when LeBron hurts his toe before anyone else, we want to get in touch with you, and we'll pay you very well for good data. And that's pretty much it. I guess thank you very much to the elders for having us. We're very happy to have you, and we're very happy to have you have us. And it's just a blessing to come here and talk to you guys today. So thank you very much. And so we have swag for any question askers. Anyone who wants to ask a question, please. I think you were first, though, right?
Oh, yeah, you answered my question during the speech, so.
Do you still want swag?
Repeat the question.
Give our man a book there. Yeah. Okay.
So, in terms of your roadmap of ongoing future market, you are doing basketball, NBA, you're doing MLB, what are the next things?
Great
Next
question.
2 or 3 things.
Yeah, we focus on those two first because they're the largest data sets that we can get access to. So the most data, the easier to build internal models to get the best result, to get the partner, of course. We are working in FIFA right now, so we do have FIFA markets up. We're interested in EPL. We have EPL markets up, and we'll be moving into hockey pretty quickly, NHL hockey. The most popular, but also we'll be working in, what's the other sport? Tennis, basketball. Yeah, I think those are the big ones, but we're also looking to get into politics, because politics is huge. Politics betting worldwide. We're also looking at esports, doing some data rights contracts to get esports data in, because that's very big in Korea, Asia, Japan. We're very interested in that. And the last thing that we're interested in is macroeconomic markets. This is a big thing, like PPI, CPI, interest rates. These are all very, very important markets, some poly markets. So we'll be expanding a little bit outside of sports, but everything's really a sport if you think about it. So yeah, that's where we're at. Yeah, it's probably look for Q1. Okay, yeah, I don't know. Okay, let's just go around.
Everyone wants swag.
Go around.
Just a quick question. Why do you think that all the politics predictions that were even made by real statisticians are really wrong and badly modeled apparently? Because even, you see this in many politics situations right now.
Do you have any political bias at all? just yes or no?
Of course, a lot of the...
I will adversely select you. Done. Yeah.
Okay. So you think that essentially that everyone's personal opinions factors has a too much big factor?
Of course. Yeah, especially pollsters.
Yeah.
Yeah. You saw Trump 2% win chance against Hillary. $1 million. Thank you very much. I'll take it. Yeah. Sorry, I don't mean to bring that up, but yeah, you get the idea. Sorry, we'll go on this circle. I'll get you all.
Could you please give just some examples? What kind of data? Is it some kind of sentiment analysis? Is it from NLP, from you?
No.
Is it what is it?
I'll give you a good example. I only had 30 minutes, so I can't do that. But in MLB, we can pull in the actual pitch physics data. So we can find the spin on the ball, the release point, the XY point that it passed the strike zone. We can get the angle swing of the bat. We can get the type of pitch. We can get the Y break of the pitch. We can get every last data point, physical data point you can think of, and deploy it into the market.
Is most of it categorical data or it's continuous?
Very good question. Mixture of continuous and categorical data. So miles per hour, say in baseball, is continuous number. Strike count, which is a very important feature. By the way, that's a little bit of alpha there if you want to model, but strikes, balls, and the number of them is actually very important because it determines what type of pitch they're going to throw. So that's very important too. So your answer is a mixture of the two.
And you reduce it. And can you give just example? Okay, how many variables for a typical successful operation?
Yeah, that's a good question too. So in general, these models are what's called small data problems.
Yeah.
We were talking about that before.
Computation.
Maybe 8,000 to 10,000 data points max, and you're looking at 50 to 70 features on average,
50 to 70 features.
and that's all you get. And so that's why it's so hard to win.
That's quite normal for medical research, I would say.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, good
Very
point.
similar to that.
What do you got?
So you had an early slide which I didn't really understand about how BitTensor and Sportstensor work together.
Yeah.
There's like some sort of flow of tokens. Can you just go over that again?
This one here?
Yeah.
Okay. $3 million emitted a day on average up here. So that's the Tau token, BitTensor's native token. A portion of that, about 2%, is given to us every day. So we make 2% of 3 million or something like that. 18% of that is given to us for ops, getting data, hiring people, all these things. 41% to the machine learning scientists. 41% to the decentralized validators who keep things from being centralized. So it's a good ledger, right? Good decentralized ledger. Then you go ahead and you take the output from the miners. The validators will score the output from the miner. If you get a high score, we'll pay you good. If you get a low score, Maybe a little bit. Yeah.
But what determines, he seems to always just get 3 million from all the
Yeah.
time. So
It's,
it's fixed.
it's diluted.
Okay.
It's emitted from a token schedule.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we're just gonna want to go and get everyone around.
Yeah, I actually, it's sort of related to this because I was a minor in Tensor before the alpha token started, however long ago that was.
Oh, okay. Pretty detailed. Okay.
Yeah, I was in subnet 28, which the problem they were trying to solve doesn't exist. I think there's something, it used to be the S&P 500 Oracle was
Oh, okay.
subnet 28, and then it changed to something else at some point, but I stopped mining and I was like a little bit confused on how the alpha token factors into like tau, because I know tau is what gets emitted and what gets you rewarded, but do miners and validators also get a portion of the alpha tokens, or how does the alpha token work?
All mining and validating is now paid on the alpha token, which is fungible in terms of tau on the alpha tau pair.
So you don't get paid in just straight tau anymore?
You would have to sell your alpha token to get tau, which you can on the open market. It's all open and liquid through an AMM.
So that like average 7,200 tau a day, how does that turn into alpha token?
That I'm not an expert on. That is the Yuma consensus. But what it is there's a dynamic amount of alpha that they inject into your protocol depending on many factors. John is the man who understands.
Okay.
I'm just a
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, you know, I like what Tensor is doing, and like, I like how it's an ecosystem essentially solving like many problems. I mean, I've been in Numerai for 5 years. I mean, it's one company solving one problem for themselves, and I mean that's what they're doing. And I like how Tau is kind of open. But yeah, I mean, just the thing with Tensor, it's always been overly complicated. I mean.
You find it complicated?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely like overly complicated, especially now with the addition of like the alpha tokens creates like a whole other dynamic.
Yeah, it's a market force that forces the subnet to provide inference, meaningful machine learning inference and value. If you have no value, the market will slam you into the pit and you will get nothing. That's the point of it. Because before, people would just start up a subnet, get a bunch of free tau. There's no correlation to the actual performance of these guys, so they were getting too much free money, and that's a big no-no, so that was smacked down. So bad subnets who are meany, like a meme coin, like Moondog or something, get out of here. It has to be real AI inference to earn an alpha price that is high. So what you see is the alpha tokens that are good have risen, and they're providing like Shoots, for instance, which is our big one. That's a LLM inference on demand. With GPUs and H100s, you can just go and rent it. They have risen quite high because they provide an actual product and service. Yeah, so that's the meaning of the alpha token.
How do you investigate things like matching, especially as markets go bigger, right? This has happened in the UK in football, well documented. Well, you know what?
Very easy answer, you do not. When they match rig, you are screwed, and that's adverse selection. If you catch that, you catch Tim Donaghy, the famous NBA referee, calling too many fouls, and you call BS on it, because Tim is calling 2 times more fouls than any other NBA referee. You should be first to adversely select on that. The answer is SOL. That's what I'll say. I won't say it. I'll just say SOL.